My name is Ms. Reed, and for 20 years, the hum of the Austin school bus pulling away each afternoon has been the soundtrack to my life. I am 40 years old, a middle school English teacher, and I teach at Travis Middle School, right here in the heart of Texas. Every morning, I wake before the sun, the aroma of coffee filling my small apartment, a quiet ritual before I dive into lesson plans and the bustling energy of my students. I love teaching, truly I do. I love the way a story can open up a child's mind, the spark in their eyes when they finally grasp a tricky concept, the clumsy beauty of their first attempts at poetry. But lately, the joy has been harder to find. It's like a beloved old book whose pages are starting to yellow and tear, fragile at the edges. My father, bless his heart, has been sick for a long time. His medical bills are a mountain, towering over my modest teacher's salary. Every month, I play a dizzying game of Tetris with my budget, trying to fit rent, utilities, groceries, and his medicine into a space that's just too small. My old car, a beat-up sedan, constantly threatens to give up the ghost, making every commute a prayer. My apartment, while home, needs a new refrigerator, and the air conditioner groans more than it cools in the Austin heat. The weight of it all, the constant balancing act, has started to seep into my bones, making me feel perpetually tired. My internal nemesis, the nagging doubt, whispers to me late at night. It tells me I'm not doing enough, that I'm slowly losing my spark, that I'm failing not just my father but my students too. I look at their bright, hopeful faces and worry I'm not giving them my best, that the worry in my heart is making my lessons dull, my enthusiasm dim. I fear I'm losing the very thing that made me a teacher in the first place, the ability to truly connect and inspire. I tried everything I could think of to climb out from under that mountain of worry. I took on extra tutoring hours after school, staying late to help students with their essays and grammar, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead long after the janitors had swept the halls. I started selling handmade greeting cards online, hoping to earn a little extra cash, spending my evenings bent over colorful paper and glitter, my fingers aching. I even applied for a small grant for my classroom, dreaming of new books and comfortable reading nooks, secretly hoping the extra funds might free up a tiny bit of my personal budget. But nothing seemed to work. The tutoring hours were unreliable, sometimes canceled at the last minute. My greeting card sales barely covered the cost of materials. And the grant application, the one I poured my heart into, came back with a polite rejection letter, a cold formality that felt like a punch to the gut. Then came the car. One sweltering afternoon, leaving school, it just died. Not a sputter, not a cough, just silence. The mechanic's estimate was astronomical, more than I had in my savings, more than I could possibly scrape together. I felt a wave of despair wash over me, so thick and heavy it felt like I was drowning. That week, a final blow landed. An eviction notice for my father's assisted living apartment arrived in the mail. I stared at the red notice, the stark numbers, and felt the last vestiges of hope drain from me. My world crumbled. How could I let this happen? I felt like a complete failure, utterly incapable of protecting the people I loved. I went to school the next day feeling hollow, like an empty shell. Every smile I forced felt like a lie. Every word I spoke in class felt like it was coming from a faraway place. That was the week I really noticed Leo. Leo was in my 8th grade English class, but he was failing everything. He was a quiet boy, but often disrupted class, not with shouting, but with a kind of stubborn, sullen withdrawal. He would slouch in his chair, eyes glazed over, seemingly lost in his own world. He never turned in homework. His tests were blank or filled with disconnected thoughts. I had tried everything with him too, extra help sessions, calls to his parents, gentle talks, firm warnings. Nothing worked. He just seemed unreachable, a silent challenge that highlighted my own sense of defeat. He was, in a way, a reflection of my own despair, a project that felt like it was failing despite all my efforts, and I felt like giving up on him, just as I was on the verge of giving up on myself. It was during one of those particularly bleak English classes, the kind where the minutes dragged like hours, that something shifted. I was trying to explain Shakespeare, and Leo, as usual, was slumped over his desk, head nearly touching the worn surface. But then I noticed his hand moving, a pen scratching softly against a piece of paper. Instead of feeling the usual surge of frustration, the impulse to tell him to pay attention, I felt a strange curiosity. Something in me, even at my lowest point, whispered to just observe. I walked quietly between the rows of desks, pretending to check other students' work, until I stood near Leo. His head was still down, but he was drawing, and not just idle scribbles. His notebook, usually blank of schoolwork, was filled with incredible, intricate sketches. There was a fantastical creature, half dragon, half owl, with feathers so detailed I could almost feel their texture. There was a sprawling cityscape, impossibly futuristic, complete with tiny, bustling figures. The lines were confident, the imagination boundless. My breath hitched. In that moment, the weight of the world, the eviction notice, the broken car, my own self-doubt, all of it faded. All I saw was the raw, undeniable talent spilling onto the page. I knelt beside his desk, my voice softer than I intended. "Leo," I whispered, "this is remarkable." He flinched, startled, his eyes wide as he tried to cover his notebook. I gently stopped his hand. "No, don't hide it. This is truly extraordinary. You have a gift for this, Leo, a real gift." He looked at me, confusion, then a flicker of something else, surprise in his eyes. It was the first time I had seen anything but emptiness there. Later that day, after school, instead of going home to face my worries, I went to the art supply store. It was a small, dusty shop, and I knew I couldn't afford much. But I bought him a new, thick sketchbook and a small set of good quality drawing pencils. It cost me nearly all the spare cash I had left, money I probably should have saved for groceries, but something compelled me. The next day, I placed them on his desk before class with a small, handwritten note that simply said, "Keep creating. The world needs your vision." That small act, that tiny flicker of belief in someone else, even when I felt so empty myself, began to mend something broken inside me. It reminded me that my purpose wasn't just about grades or test scores. It was about seeing the unseen, nurturing the nascent light within each student. It was a leap of faith, not just for Leo, but for myself. The change in Leo wasn't immediate, but it was undeniable. He still struggled in English, but now he was trying. He'd occasionally bring in his sketchbook, proudly showing me a new drawing. His eyes held a new light, a glimmer of self-worth. He started asking questions, not just about English, but about anything that caught his interest, like a seed that had finally found sunlight. Seeing him find his voice, even if it was through charcoal and pencil, reignited something powerful within me. His progress became my own quiet victory, a testament that I hadn't lost my ability to make a difference. Slowly, miraculously, my own world began to shift. A week after giving Leo the sketchbook, a former student, now a university art major, remembered my passion for art in the classroom and reached out, telling me about a local grant available for teachers to fund creative projects. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough to fix my car, just enough to catch my breath and make a dent in those medical bills. It felt like a twist of fate, a small kindness rippling back to me, an echo of the kindness I had extended to Leo. I used my renewed energy, my rediscovered purpose, to create a small after-school art club, inspired by Leo's talent. It became a haven for students who felt like they didn't quite fit in, a place where creativity flourished. Leo, shy at first, eventually became a quiet leader in the group, inspiring others with his dedication and skill. Years passed. My father's health stabilized, my finances, while still tight, were manageable. I continued teaching, each day finding new ways to connect with my students, to see their hidden talents. Then, one day, I was flipping through an art magazine in a doctor's waiting room. A full-page spread caught my eye, an interview with a rising star in the world of illustration. His work was distinctive, fantastical, breathtaking, and his name was Leo Rodriguez. I felt a surge of emotion so profound it brought tears to my eyes. His dragon-owl hybrid, his futuristic cityscapes, his unique blend of wonder and detail, it was unmistakable. A few months later, a beautifully calligraphed envelope arrived in the mail. Inside was an invitation to a gallery opening in New York City, featuring the debut solo exhibition of Leo Rodriguez. And tucked within the invitation was a small, personal note, handwritten. "Ms. Reed," it read, "thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. You gave me more than art supplies, you gave me a future. You taught me that even when the world feels impossible, there's always a masterpiece waiting to be uncovered." That note, those words, brought my journey full circle. It proved to me that even when I felt weakest, when my own spirit was at its lowest ebb, a quiet act of kindness, a genuine belief in another human being, could not only transform their life but also reaffirm my own strength and purpose. Things truly do get better, sometimes because we find the strength within, and sometimes because a small, hopeful spark we light in someone else shines a light back on us.